And so I called on this lead, and the guy's like, look, he's like, if you can close on this in 10 days, he's like, I'll give it to you for X amount, right? He's like, old, I want to travel the world. And he's like, and I don't want this problem anymore.
What is the story about an El Camino?
There was a 1970 El Camino. I still have pictures of it. And so when we first walked the property was like down to the studs because I guess it flooded. The dude was like, do you want it? And he's like, I'll sell it to you for like, I don't know, X amount. And I was like, no, all my money's going to buy this house.
Right.
So anyways, day of closing, he shows up and he has a title with him. And he's like, hey, I couldn't get anyone to come move that El Camino. He's like, do you want it? And I'm like, sure. So he signed it over, and then I sold it. Some guy came to like work on my septic tank at my house, and he was like, hey, how much you want for that El Camino? I was like, 11 grand, it's yours. Man, he didn't think twice. Yeah, it was a cool car. Never got to drive it or anything, but
you made some good money on it.
Yeah, that's all I was thinking about at that time. Yeah.
The construction aspect of this flip. Now you do have a partner in this, like you have someone that's experienced that you're working with, and obviously you have some technical ability being in HVAC and stuff like that. Like you understand the mechanics of things, I assume. So did you have any issues with the construction, like any really unforeseen challenges or anything like that on this flip, or was it all pretty straightforward?
No, I mean, that one was pretty smooth sailing. I think that's why it was like you said, like a false positive, right? Because it's just like a super good first experience. So it's like, but in my mind, like I, surrounded by other experienced investors, that was like not the norm, right? It just went really well just due to the circumstance. But it was a solid house. Yeah.
Good. Awesome. So, how long was it until that first wholesale that you got?
So it's interesting because remember, like I told you, like it took me forever to like take action.
Yeah.
But then that closing and the wholesale happened within the time span of 2 weeks. Right, both of those deals.
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah.
I want to hear that story too. Tell us about that property, because that is one story that like I've heard a number of times people talk about, like this wholesale deal. So you've done a flip, it was a successful flip after a year or years of not really taking action. I mean, it took you were taking action for the year trying to get in touch with the seller of the flip, right? So you were taking some action, but before that, a lot of non-action. You start taking action, and then you get this other deal that you end up wholesaling. And so your first flip is an absolute success. What is the story behind this wholesale deal?
So at that time, I started doing postcards. I didn't know how to close, right? In hindsight, I had some good opportunities. I just didn't know how to like navigate a conversation, and I started text blasting, and so I was asking people like, where should I market, right? And a ton of them were like doing this Richmond area, right? I can't remember the guy's name. That was kind of like my mentor within the group, and I was like, what about where I'm from, Stafford County? He's like, it's pretty sleepy out there. I was like, well, I'm gonna just do it, right?
Spot.
Yeah. So text blasting. I had like one part-time VA that was like a lead manager, and so I was the one like following up and closing, or I hadn't closed anything, but I was the closer, right? And so I called on this lead, and the guy's like, look, he's like, if you can close on this in 10 days, he's like, I'll give it to you for X amount, right? He's like, old, I want to travel the world, and he's like, and I don't want this problem anymore. And it had like a homemade skylight in the house, if you know what I'm saying. It just had like a huge hole in the roof. So it was a pretty beat up house. Anyway, so I ran that by another investor that was wholesaling at the time. And he's like, you need to get that under contract like ASAP. Right? Because I wasn't quite confident yet. I'm like, is this really a deal? And so I got on a contract, and I think like in maybe 3 or 4 days, I assigned it to another investor for $70K above what I had under contract.
That's insane.
So my first wholesale $70K assignment, again, it's like gave me like, just like you said, right? I'm like, whoa, man, like I'm done, right?
It's 2 weeks apart.
But then comes the lull after, the successes, right?